All right, today we are diving deep into the science of fueling for marathon kayaking. We're going to translate what the absolute top-tier elites are doing with their nutrition into a practical plan for you. The goal? To turn your body from an engine that's just running on fumes into a high-octane powerhouse, so your performance never ever flatlines.
So let me ask you a question. Does this sound familiar? You're out there training harder than you ever have before, you're putting in these monster 2-hour sessions, your heart rate is absolutely pegged, but when you step on the scale, the number keeps dropping, and your power on the water just feels flat. You know, it's one of the most frustrating feelings for any dedicated athlete.
Well, this is what we call the paddler's paradox. It's this weird situation where all your increased effort is actually leading to declining results. Now, I know that sounds completely backwards, but the science behind why it's happening is crystal clear.
So here's the absolute crux of the issue. When you're training that hard without enough fuel in the tank, your body just goes into survival mode. It starts looking for energy anywhere it can, and it finds it by breaking down its own hard-earned muscle tissue. You're literally sacrificing your engine to fuel the ride, and that explains both the weight loss and that maddening drop in performance.
Okay, so to really understand why this is happening, we've got to look at the massive, and I mean massive, energy demands of our sport. There's a hidden cost to maintaining race pace, and trust me, it's way bigger than you probably think.
Just look at that number. The sheer scale of the energy burn here is just staggering. Research shows that high-intensity kayaking can demand over 1,000 kilocalories every single hour. It's an enormous metabolic cost, mostly because you're in this constant fight against the resistance of the water, what scientists call hydrodynamic drag.
And this chart, wow, this just illustrates the problem perfectly. A single 2-hour high-intensity session can torch 1,600 calories, maybe even more. You add that to your basic daily needs, and your total burn for the day is over 3,600 calories. So if you're only eating a typical, say, 2,000-calorie diet, you're creating this massive daily deficit. You do that day after day, and your body simply has no choice but to break down.
You know, this leads us to the official diagnosis for our problem. It's called chronic glycogen depletion. It's basically a state where you are consistently burning through way more carbohydrate stores than you can possibly replenish. And this doesn't just make you tired, it actually triggers muscle loss, and it can even weaken your immune system, which is why you might find yourself getting sick more often. So we've definitely identified the problem. Now, the big question is, how do we fix it? Well, the very first step is to stop the bleeding. We have to stop that weight loss by building a really robust daily nutrition plan that can actually support your training.
Here it is. This is your new target. For a 60-kilogram paddler who's training 2 hours a day, the total daily energy need is right around 3,650 kilocalories. And what this means is that eating has to become just as disciplined and structured as your paddling sessions. It's not just about feeling full anymore, it's about hitting a number.
But how do you possibly eat that much food without feeling bloated and heavy in the boat? The secret is all about caloric density, not just volume. This is what we call the hidden calorie strategy. You make smart swaps, like switching water for fruit juice or bulky raw salads for cooked vegetables. You fortify your meals with things like nut butter and olive oil. You get all the calories you need, but without all that stomach volume.
And here's what that can actually look like in practice. Just notice how the meals are all structured around that main training block. You've got a high-carb breakfast and lunch to build up your stores, a smaller pre-training top-up to prime the engine, and then these super critical windows for fueling during and after your training to make sure you're always topped up and recovering fast. See? This isn't just random eating, it's a calculated plan.
Okay, so with your daily foundation totally solid, it's time for the real game changer, mastering how to fuel during your intense sessions and races. I'm telling you, this is what separates the good athletes from the truly great ones.
Now listen up, because this is huge. Forget what you might have learned years ago. That old standard of 30 or maybe 60 grams of carbs per hour, that's outdated. Elite endurance science has proven that the body, with the right training, can absorb 90 grams or even more. This, right here, is the key to maintaining your power and just staving off that horrible fatigue in the final hour of a big race.
But you can't just jump straight to 90 grams on race day. Your gut is a trainable muscle, just like your lats or your biceps. This slide lays out a progressive 6-week protocol to adapt your digestive system. You start small, maybe at 45 grams per hour, and you slowly, week by week, increase the load. You're teaching your body to process all that fuel efficiently while you're under stress.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Look at the absolute best paddlers in the entire world. Case studies on elite champions like Mads Pedersen show they're taking in over 80 grams of carbohydrates every single hour during World Championship races. That's not a suggestion, folks. That is the benchmark for what it takes to win.
All right, you've built your daily plan, you've trained your gut, now let's bring it all together into a concrete step-by-step blueprint for race day. This is where all that preparation meets execution.
First things first, your equipment. In a Tippy K1, how you carry your fuel is absolutely critical. For a solo paddler, a floor bladder is, without a doubt, the best choice. It keeps your center of gravity low and stable. The absolute gold standard is pairing that bladder with a stiff, wired straw that lets you drink completely hands-free.
Your race day starts hours before the gun even goes off. This timeline shows you the key milestones: a big high-carb breakfast 3 hours out to top off your glycogen stores, a strategic dose of caffeine about 45 minutes before to lower your perceived effort, and then one final priming gel just before the start to make sure your blood sugar is ready for that violent initial sprint.
Okay, once the race begins, it's all about executing your plan. Step 1, survive the chaos of the start. Once the race settles down a bit, you begin sipping your carb mix consistently. Then comes the middle grind, where races are really won and lost. You must maintain that 90 gram per hour rate. And finally, you use one last caffeinated gel to give you that mental and physical kick you need for the finish line.
So let's just recap the most crucial takeaways here. First, start treating your body like the high-performance engine it is. Second, you have to stop that unintended weight loss by hitting your daily caloric target, around 3,650 calories, using calorie-dense foods. Third, you've got to systematically train your gut to handle the new elite standard of 90 grams of carbs per hour. And finally, practice your race day plan over and over until it becomes absolute second nature.
I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. You invest thousands of dollars in your boat, hundreds in your paddle, all your gear. You invest hours and hours and hours into training. But is your nutrition, the very fuel that makes all of that other stuff work, is it getting the same level of serious investment? The answer to that question could be the key to your next big breakthrough.